Hi everyone, welcome back to BryanChinese Pinyin Course. So far, we've covered 6 simple finals, 21 initials, 13 compound finals, 16 nasal finals, and 1 special final, that gave us all the building blocks of pinyin syllables. But there is one more concept to master, the zero initial with YW rule. A zero initial means the syllable starts with a final and tone with no initial consonant. We handle these syllables in 4 ways. First, when the final starts with a, o, just write the final on its own, no initial required. When the final starts with u, use w as a placeholder. Number 3, when the final starts with e, use y as a placeholder. Number 4, when the final starts with yu, use y as placeholder again, but drop the 2 dots. These letters, W and Y, don't add any sounds. They are just here to help us write and read pinyin correctly. Now, when a syllable begins with a, o, or we simply write it as it is. Here are some examples of zero initial syllables. A, o, I, a, ow, o, an, on, But here's something important to keep in mind. When you are writing these syllables with a phrase or sentence, you need to insert an apostrophe before the zero initial syllable, especially if the previous syllable ends in a vowel. This helps clearly separate the syllables and prevents any mix-up with previous sound. For example, take wan an, meaning good night. If we leave out the apostrophe and write it as this, it could be misinterpreted as these 2 forms, both of which are completely different. Another example is Xi'an, which is a historic city in China. Without the apostrophe written as this, it could be confused with xian, meaning first. So that little apostrophe is not just a punctuation mark, it's a clarity tool. Now let's move on to the second situation when a zero initial syllable starts with the vowel u. Here are some common finals that begin with u. U, wa, wo, wai, wan, wang, weng, wei, and wen. We handle these in 2 main ways. First, replace u with the placeholder w, or add w to the beginning of the syllable. Let's break it down. For wa, wo, wai, wan, wang, and weng, we simply replace u with w, so they become wa, wo, wai, wan, wang, weng. For wei and wen, these are actually shortened forms of wei and wen. When they have no initial, we replace the u with w in the full form. Wei turns into wei and wen becomes wen. For u by itself, we just add w to the front, turning it to wu. Adding this w placeholder at the beginning makes the syllable easier to read. It helps clearly separate syllables and avoids confusion with adjacent sounds. Next, let's take a look at the third situation when a zero initial syllable starts with the vowel e. Here are the common finals that begin with e, ya, ye, yao, yan, yang, yong, yin, ying, yo. We handle these in 2 main ways. Replace e with the placeholder y, or add y to the beginning of the syllable. Let's break it down. For ya, ye, yao, yan, yang, and yong, we replace e with y, so they become ya, ye, yao, yan, yang, yong. For yo, which is shortened from yo, we first go back to the full form. Then we replace the e with y, turning yo into yo. For the syllable yi, yin, and ying, we simply add y to the front. So yi becomes yi, yin becomes yin, and ying becomes ying. Adding this y placeholder helps make the syllable easier to read and pronounce, and it also ensures that each syllable is clearly separated and not accidentally merged with the one before it. Now let's look at the last situation when a zero initial syllable starts with yu. There are only 4 such syllables in Pinyin system: yu by itself and yue, yuan, and yun. For all of these, we follow a simple rule. Add y to the beginning of the syllable and drop the 2 dots from yu, so they become yu, yue, yuan, yun. This leads us to an important spelling rule. The only time we write or type yu with 2 dots is when it comes after ne or le, like in nu or lü. When yu follows ji, qi, xi, or y, we drop the 2 dots, even though the pronunciation stays the same. So whenever you see letter u after ji, qi, xi, or y, it's actually yu, just without the dots. That's the key takeaway for all zero initial syllables in Pinyin. Keep in mind, the spelling rules may change depending on the context, but the pronunciation stays consistent. Let's have a quick review of what we learned today. Number 1, syllables that start with a, o, or these stay exactly as they are. A, o, I, a, ao, o, an, en, Number 2, syllables that start with u, we make them start with w either by replacing u or adding w to the beginning. Wa, wo, wai, wan, wang, weng, wu, wei, wen. Number 3, syllables that start with e, we make them start with y either by replacing e or adding y to the beginning. Ya, ye, yao, yan, yang, yong, yi, yin, ying, yo. Number 4, syllables that start with yu, we make them start with y and drop the 2 dots from yu, yu, yue, yuan, yun. Time for the quiz. Pick the one in correct spelling from each group. Wei, yin, weng, yi, wan, an, you, wan, yun. If you have any questions about today's lesson, just leave a comment below. I'm here to help. If this video helps you out, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot and helps me keep creating more Chinese learning content for you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next time.